It is believed that Baron Samedi is the giver of life. Many say that he has the ability to cure people of any illness or wound, but all that comes with a price. The key to an encounter with Baron Samedi is to never look back once you have seen him. No matter what you hear, no matter what you see, and no matter what you experience, never look back, or it will cost you your life. My mother's friend was in desperate need of a miracle. For the sake of this story, we'll call her Marie. Her infant son was very sick. The frantic woman took her son to various pediatricians who simply couldn't tell her why her baby was sick. She tried prescribed medications and home remedies that worked temporarily, but the child continued to be plagued by fever. Marie was at her wit's end when a family member referred her to an Uga man who could possibly help her. An Uga man serves as a leader of rituals and ceremonies of the Voodoo faith. Upon visiting the man, she was surprised at his appearance. He wore a tattered white t-shirt and dirty white shorts. His hair was matted and his beard was long. His fingernails were long and filthy, but she was in no position to judge him and only wanted to save her baby. She sat there before the old man, patiently waiting for him to say something to her. He didn't say a word. Normally, the Uga already knows what the visitor needs before they even speak. Marie watched the old man sitting across from her. He was staring into a white bowl filled with water. What he was doing looked ridiculous to Marie, but she held her tongue and waited for him to speak. She was moments from getting up and leaving when the old man held out his right hand. This gesture meant she should pay him before they begin. She reached into her purse and handed the man $72. He took the money and shoved it into his pocket. His voice nearly startled Marie when he said, "Mwen wè ou vin la pou yon petit ou ki malade. I see you have come here on behalf of your sick child." Her heart leapt. There was no way that he could have known this, but she leaned in closer as he spoke. "Petit la pa gen lontan pou l'viv, non? Mais so pral fè pou sauver la vie petit sa. This child doesn't have long to live. But you must do all that I say if you want to save your child's life. But what I'm about to tell you isn't for the weak. Will you be able to do it?" Without even knowing what she had to do, Marie quickly agreed that she would do anything for her baby to be all right. Without looking at her, the Uga nodded his head in agreement. He lit a cigarette and took a long drag. He then blew the smoke into Marie's face. She wasn't fazed by this. She just needed to do whatever it took to save her child. The old man asked, "Est-ce qu'on a bien courage pour faire bagay sa? Will you have enough courage to do all that is required of you? Tell me now so we can both save ourselves the trouble. I wouldn't want your money to go to waste." Without hesitation, Marie said, "Yes." He explained, "Fok ou al nan cimetière pou al gele babon. E fok ou al le swa. You have to go to the cemetery, and you have to go in the middle of the night. Once you encounter him, you must do all that he tells you to do. Now, no matter what you see or hear, you cannot show that you are afraid or you won't live to see daylight. Do you understand? The Uga man handed Marie a piece of blank paper. He told her she must take this piece of paper to the cemetery with her. He instructed that on that piece of paper was the incantation that would summon Baron Samedi. To keep from talking out of turn, she stuck her tongue to the roof of her mouth. Neg sa gen l'air fou. Is he crazy? She thought to herself. Marie looked at him, confused, because there was nothing written on the piece of paper to recite. He told her that once she made it to the cemetery that she would be able to recite the incantation, but le moment que saute wap mourir en place petite la. No matter what you do when you encounter Baron Samedi, do not show fear. The moment you display any fear, you will die in place of that baby. Naturally, Marie's heart began to pound. She was afraid now, but this was important and she had to do it. She couldn't bring anyone with her or tell anyone what she was about to do. That very night, she waited until her family was asleep. She took the blank piece of paper and put it in the pocket of her dress and snuck out of the house. The silence was deafening. All she could hear was the sound of her feet hitting the dirt road. Although she drank a full cup of rum, it did nothing to calm her nerves. She stood at the entrance of the graveyard. It wasn't about whether she was going in. She would do that. But her feet seemed glued to the ground. But she finally went inside. She reached into her pocket to make sure that the piece of paper was still there. She felt like she was having an out-of-body experience now. As though she were in a never-ending nightmare, but she was able to move deeper into the graveyard. In the moonlight, she could see words printed in bold letters. How did that happen? No matter. With trembling lips, she read what was on that paper. As she was done, she could feel her jaw tightening. The first thing she noticed was a low rumbling sensation underneath her feet. Then the horrible stench of rotting flesh permeated the night air. Tears streamed down Marie's face as she fought back the urge to vomit. The rumbling under her feet intensified. Tiny light orbs that looked like little fireflies appeared before her eyes. Although she was terrified, the light orbs were beautiful. Less than a few feet in front of her, something was materializing. It stood tall and dark. It was staring down at her. She never felt fear like this in her entire life, and now she struggled to keep from fainting or running away. A deep, menacing voice spoke.
Ah, chère madame, qui sont besoin bo ici? My fair lady, why have you summoned me? What do you want from me?
No person in their right mind would ever visit a graveyard alone. It's just not a natural thing to do, but as I said before, Marie was determined to save her baby's life. It took Marie several seconds to respond. Her throat felt unbelievably dry. Please, have mercy on me, Baron. Don't be angry with me. I have come to ask you a favor.
What could you possibly need from me?
Baron asked. The smell of rotting flesh intensified, but she continued on with her request. She could hear whispering voices all around her, but kept her eyes on the tall, bony figure before her. It's my baby. My baby is sick, and an Uga told me you could help me heal my child. Will you help me?
Rest assured, woman, your bravery has saved you. Mais sobre moi. Here is what you will do for me. Unbutton your dress and expose your left breast.
With trembling hands, Marie did as she was told. She closed her eyes tight. She could feel an icy hand on her breast. Immediately, it began to lactate. Baron Samedi used a tin cup to collect the milk flowing from Marie's body. Reluctantly, Marie opened her eyes. She could see the bony figure lifting the tin cup to its thin lips and drank her milk. After the cup was drained of its content, he let out a horrible laugh. The laugh felt deceptive and made Marie feel a horrible feeling in the pit of her stomach. Baron Samedi said,
Once you are home, breastfeed your baby and he will be healed. Now, getting here was easy, but your journey back won't be. You can't come before me and leave the same way you came, so I'm sending escorts to take you home. But listen carefully when I say that the key is, no matter what you hear, no matter what you feel, never look back. If you do, you will not live to see daylight and stay here with me.
Baron Samedi laughed as Marie turned around and made her way out of the cemetery. She thought that once she left, that she could breathe a sigh of relief. Just as she lifted her foot, she felt something grab hold of her ankle. She tumbled to the ground, scraping both knees. Marie scrambled to her feet, walking as quickly as she could back to her baby. She heard voices whispering,
Oh, Marie Gatsabel. Let him know. Don't you want to see?
Marie fought with all her might to keep herself from looking back. Her neck ached as she resisted. She couldn't imagine what was following her home and didn't want to. Her left breast ached as she continued on her journey. From behind, she could feel herself being shoved. Something kept tugging at the hem of her dress. Don't turn around, don't turn around, don't turn around, pas virer garder. She repeated this to herself over and over again. Once her home came into view, she took off running onto the porch. She turned the doorknob and rushed inside, slamming the door shut behind her. She could hear laughing and voices saying,
Farewell, Marie.
She went into her bedroom, picked up her sleeping baby and woke him up to breastfeed him. She spent the rest of the night looking after her baby, and by morning, his fever broke and he was carefree. Marie was elated. She was appreciative to the medicine man for referring her to Baron Samedi. She enjoyed watching her son grow up to be the man that she expected him to be. Until he died at the age of 23.